International Film Festival, The Hague.
So the film Note of Defiance, the last one in this blog, explores the use of creativity and art as a means of cultural survival and defiance. Could you please tell us what motivated you to make this film?
I was seeing a lot of images in other films or in the news of destruction, of a country turned to rubble. And although that is the reality of the war, I wanted to tell a story of creation, a story of beauty, a story of culture, which were things that I think were missing in a lot of the coverage of the war that I was seeing.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe you could share with us also the experience of shooting in Kharkiv. I think that was one of the places where you were also for some time, and the creative process of making film that depicts the art and the importance of art and culture, even more so during the times of war. I found it absolutely unimaginable that you could have a stage, performance stage in underground parkings and bomb shelters. So if you could tell us more about it.
Oh, it was a wonderful experience shooting in Kharkiv. Everyone was so welcoming to allow us into their lives, into their world, and to trust us with sharing their story and bringing it to the world. So overall, I mean, it was a very wonderful experience, and I don't necessarily want to call it easy, but as far as documentaries go, I mean, when you have subjects that are that talented and that open with their lives and locations that are that beautiful, in a lot of ways the film almost makes itself. So I think, you know, the most difficult part was making the decision to actually show up and do it in the first place. But yeah, everything else was a really tremendous experience. Does Mac or anybody else have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Brian had an amazing vision from the beginning, but what we didn't expect was to be totally blown away by the opera house itself. Like, that was never going to be a character in this documentary. It was more so going to be just a setting. And we walked in there for the first time, and I remember Charles, Brian, and I just looked at each other like, holy shit, this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen. And it's in the middle of, you know, one of the more bombed out cities that we're able to visit. And it became clear from that moment on that the opera house was our center focus, and the two characters were going to be our way in to tell that story.
Excellent, you did a really fantastic job telling the story indeed. Yeah, thank you. Do we have questions from the audience?
Do you have any connection to ballet or playing the violin, or how do you find
I cannot dance. I cannot read music. I know nothing about music, so none for me. I can hear music, which I think is important. Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, she's a talented musician. I think the rest of us are just sports fans that found ourselves in Ukraine.
I play the piano.
I don't know if you can talk about how you found two people.
Yeah, we actually found them through the opera house. So when I knew I wanted to tell a story of culture, and it's worth noting too that I specifically wanted to shoot in Kharkiv because of Charles. Charles is kind of my Tyler Durden, where I was at home watching the invasion happen on CNN, and he was in Ukraine because he just gave up everything and just went to Ukraine at like week 3 of the war and set up an NGO in eastern Ukraine, bringing medical supplies to the front lines. And so I was watching what he was doing on Instagram, and I thought, yeah, I need to get my shit together. This guy's doing some cool stuff. So I sort of fell in love with Kharkiv because of Charles. And so I knew I wanted to make a film there. And so I literally just Googled like cultural buildings, Kharkiv, and the first one that came up was the Opera House. And I went to the Wikipedia page, and it said that the National Academic Opera and Ballet Theater was an opera house in Kharkiv, past tense. And I couldn't find out any more information on it, what the state of the opera house was. And I was able to come across the email address of the manager. And so I had our fixer email him and told him what we wanted to do. We wanted either a ballet dancer or a violinist. And he emailed us back like an hour later. It was like, I have a ballet dancer and a violinist. And I called them both up and like, we're interested, and then we basically just decided to go. And it's also worth noting too that we got Wikipedia to change it, so it now says that it is an opera house present tense.
Thank you.